Welcome to the Cashing In on Creativity podcast with artist, author, and creative business consultant, Bruce Outridge. Let's get started making money with your unique talent. On with the show.
Hello, welcome to the Cashing In on Creativity podcast. I'm your host, Bruce Outridge. This is episode number 236, and today we're going to talk with my friend Kelly Gannon. Kelly's been on the show a long time ago, and he is a great person. He's actually a professional cartoonist, but he's also a professional drummer. And we're going to talk to him about his career, how he got started in music, all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned. Hey folks, I got a book that I think you're going to love. It's called You're Not Done Yet. This is a book that I released in March 2020, and is a book that helps you figure out where you're going in life and figuring out some of the talents you got. Are you wondering what your purpose is for life? Are you wondering how to live your life to the fullest? Are you thinking that education is holding you back? Or maybe you just need to help focus your life with some of the values you've got. Why not merge your talent and your skills and make yourself an awesome life? I talk all about that in You're Not Done Yet. This is a book that is a real easy read. You can find it on Amazon, or you can go to you'renotdoneyet.ca. Enjoy the book, and I hope that it helps you to focus your life. All right, so Kelly and I met through ISCA, the International Society of Caricature Artists. He's way out in Calgary, Alberta, and I got last time Kelly was on, we talked about his art. So I'll put it in the show notes. I can't remember when it was, but it was a couple years ago. And since then, he's been connecting me with a lot of people. Now, I didn't realize this. Like, this is the fun thing about learning about people on a podcast, is you learn about what they do. I didn't realize that Kelly was into, building houses down in the day, and he's got such an interesting career as an artist, visual artist. He's been on cruise ships and done all of that. He's done stuff for rock stars, and he's got a great network. And I knew he was a drummer, and he's actually been in some of the music that we played on the podcast here and now on Lead Pedal Radio is from his band Trio Avenue he was in. But he put me in touch with people like Rich Redmond, who's the drummer for Jason Aldean that you've heard here on the podcast as well. Nathan Liu, who's with the Beatles tribute band, is a good friend of Kelly's. Mark Dawson with the Grassroots connected with Kelly, and Kelly introduced me to Mark. And then, of course, he's been singing with Trio Avenue, and he's got such a network of people that he's been with, and it's so much fun, and he's great at connecting. But you know what? He's also got a very interesting life. I didn't realize he makes his own drum kits. I didn't realize that, he's been to some of the places that he's been as far as with musicians and learning from some of the professionals and those kind of things. And he is very talented. If you've ever watched Kelly play, he's very talented. Anyway, it's always fun to sit down with somebody. I get so much inspiration out of these interviews. And let's get on with the interview with my friend Kelly Gannon. All right, everybody on the line, I've got Kelly Gannon. How are we doing today, Kelly?
I'm doing very well.
Good, buddy.
Thank you.
We were just yakking offline, so now we can continue yakking online. Only because you're telling me your old girlfriend story. I had to not tape.
Oh, no. Oh, there's a lawsuit there.
I don't even want to hear it now. No. So you and I know each other through the art business, but I knew you were a drummer, but I didn't realize you were like building your own kits. And you put me on with like these amazing drummers. We just had Mark. So like Rich Redmond, you connected me with. Nathan Liu, you connected me with. Mark Dawson, you connected me with. How do you know all these people? Like, what do you do? You just roam around the country, or is this a musician union, or what is it? How do you know all these guys? I go a lot of places. I know a lot of people, but I don't know people you know. Like, how do you know all these guys?
Well, I've been a musician for 50 years, but I don't like push it at all. Sometimes I'm actually embarrassed about it. Seriously, because they have such a bad reputation, some musicians.
No, they don't.
And so, well, like I pushed the caricature work, and I got a chance to do all these 60s guys, like Herman's Hermits, like caricature for T-shirts and so forth. Herman's Hermits, Paul Revere and the Raiders, and they were some of my favorite bands when I was kids. And how I met Mark was, he's from the Grassroots, and I did his caricature. He used him on his guitar picks. I did Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees. Chubby Checker did his. He sent me back an email and said it looks more like Babyface. So I don't know whether to take that as an insult or I don't know how to say it. But anyway, and I would attend these rock camps and what I did it for was partly for the tax break, because as a caricature artist, sometimes the money can be huge. Like it's quite good in Alberta. It was very good. So I needed that
when
right off.
When there was events.
when it was happening.
It's not happening anymore.
No. It's like a screeching halt. But the rock camps, because I was still playing drums with bands and recording lots of CDs, but I was a full-time caricature artist. So I needed that legal tax loophole to offset the taxes.
Right.
And so I phoned this one rock camp. I found it online. So I phone up and to find out some information. So she says, you can talk to David. So it's like you phoning Coca-Cola and getting the owner. She didn't just turn me on to a rep. She turned me on to David Fishoff. Now, David Fishoff is the manager of Ringo Starr, and he's friends with all the rock stars in the world. He promotes sports stars. He owns real estate holdings, television. He's a big guy. So rather than her just pushing me into a salesman, she goes right to the very top. And I was like, holy jeez, wow, I'm talking to Ringo's manager. So anyway, I just asked him some questions about the camp because I wanted to offset the taxes. And he sold me on it right away because he was so nice. He was so friendly. So I flew down there, and I thought I'll just draw a quick little digital caricature of David, because I'd Googled, he's done a lot of books and he's speaking tours. And the cartoons turned out pretty good. I drew him as a king. It's a double entendre there. He's a Jewish fella, and King David is how the cartoon was turning out. And he's the king of entrepreneurs. He really is good. And so I presented it to him, and I said to him, here you go. And by the way, as a creative person, thank you for all the business guy coming before the creative people to set up for the creative people. And I'll tell you, he almost was in tears, and it almost chokes me up because I don't think anybody ever said that to David before, was, thank you from the creative side to the business side. Thank you. Because they build the stadiums, they build even if you're playing in a bar, they build the bars, the business people. They set up the records, studios. They set everything up before we come along, right? And so he called over the cameraman, because this is all on camera. And he gets over this guy, the sound guy with the big fuzzy mic. He says, can you repeat what you just said? And we'll hold up the caricature. And I thought, what did I just say? If I had to repeat what I just said now, I probably couldn't do it. But anyway, so then all of a sudden he introduces me to John Five from Marilyn Manson's band. And he was kind of impressed. He says, this guy's a cartoonist, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, it's nothing like what you do, buddy. He's a guitar player for Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie. And I'm not a rocker. I don't care. And then Paul Stanley from Kiss was there, the guitar player from Kiss. And then the whole room was full of rock stars. You spend 4 days at a studio, and basically that's all it is musicians. And what it is, it's a very small group of people that go in, and the price is so high, I was out of my league. I really was. There was heart surgeons there. There was a LA prosecutor, bankers, and here's this caricature guy. They're trying to offset his taxes.
And the problem, the rest of them probably had no money. They're like, we had to borrow to get here.
No, they had money.
Your taxes.
No, I think they had money, especially the surgeons. I'm pretty sure.
Is it like that show? There was a show on TV that had, and they'd bring in like Sammy Hagar, and it was only, I don't know, 5 or 6 people come to this rock camp, and the goal is by the end they're going to play a song or form a band or jam or something like that, and they bring in oh, we need someone to sing. Here comes Sammy Hagar, and here we need a guitarist. Here comes Jimmy Page, and they just bring in all these big stars.
That's what it was.
Okay, that's cool. I saw that show. That used to be a show, or there was a series similar to that, and I used to watch it, and it was pretty cool. I'm going, that's a cool way to. Yeah, you need a bassist. Yeah, Gene Simmons come through the door, right?
Yep. That's exactly what it was, but had I wanted the part where you actually play with the rock stars, that would have cost about another $4,000 for that one.
Wow.
With the exchange, I spent $6,000, but that's with exchange rate, and the hotel was at Mandalay Bay, and then they drove you to this studio. But the big stars are fine, but they also have hanging right with you, sitting right with you, are guys from Whitesnake, the Cult, the Beach Boys. They're all sitting right there. And after 4 days, after you see them all, like Paul Stanley would be standing in front of your table, and after 4 days, he was just some little old man. Like he wasn't this rock star anymore.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's cool. So now, what level? Who goes to these camps? Like the surgeon, is he playing at a level? Like, are you going there to improve your playing, or are you going there? Like, why are you going to a camp like that? Is it to see just to meet people and see what it's about, get tips, or is it to improve your playing, or what is it? Because I'm thinking a surgeon, as much as they might say that's fun to go for a week, is that really like you're not coming out of there and forming a band? Are you? I don't know. Maybe you are.
No, I don't think. I think they were probably in their college days. They probably played, but they were all decent, because you have to play the material that when Paul Stanley walks in, they're going to play Kiss songs, and I didn't realize actually Kiss songs were more in depth than what I thought they were. I just thought they were kind of like I thought they were kind of like a teeny bopper style. I really did. I didn't know much about them. I've seen them live 3 times, but the show kind of, you didn't listen to the music. It was the show that kind of distracted you. So, but then when I had to really listen, I thought, wow, that's more than what I thought. But all the players could cut it.
Yeah.
They all cut it. But what they do is they all go into a little studio room, and then a rock star goes in and they go over the songs. Like, you'll have a guy from Whitesnake that'll be in that room, and they'll go over it with you.
Okay.
But I didn't pick that level, because that's 10,000. I picked the 6,000 where you're an observer.
Because you're Canadian and we have to figure out the exchange before we actually go.
It was the exchange. No, you got it right. It was the exchange. And when you did the Mandalay,
it's 10,000 for you, but that's with the exchange.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All your food, everything. It really killed me. And then the flight, and have you ever done? I've been mesmerized on. And I know you haven't been on social media lately, but on Facebook, they've got these, it's like a stadium. Everybody's, well, I guess amateurs, I don't know what you call it. And they're all playing the same song. So I don't know what this is called. I'm trying to pull it up on my Facebook at the same time. Hopefully I won't, cause any, I don't know what this is called. I've seen it on Facebook, and it's, Bernie lookalike. I'm trying to read what it says here. It's some kind of stadium thing, and they play like ACD. And when you you go into the bottom of the stadium, and let's say there's 200 drummers. And then on the other side are 200 guitarists. Like, they've got all the parts of the band. The singers are all in a section. You're all in your own section. 200 drummers all playing the exact same beat at the same time. It is just wild to see. I see it on Facebook. This thing, I'm not big on Facebook. Like, I go on it, but I'm not a lover of Facebook. But when I get into this watch thing, and because I watch all the old bands and the old musicians, all the stuff that comes up in that feed is like Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, all this Kiss, I have seen that, Bruce. Yeah.
Yeah, and so this one's coming. They're playing like, Queen and all of that, but they're playing it all in unison, and it is so much fun. I'm thinking, how do I get into that? Like, I've never, you've inspired me to take drum lessons again. You realize that?
Oh no! I was created a monster.
No, I did drumming for a couple years as a teenager. Never followed it up, and I actually started the process this year because I've been talking about it. All of my friends are drummers, and I found a jam session that goes on just in the local area here, and I thought, well, okay, that's something to build toward, because there's no sense taking lessons if you're never going to use this, to just take lessons and not have a goal to. So my goal would be to play at one of these jam nights. So, get good enough that I could play at one of these jam nights. So I've got a couple drummers in the area here. They want to give me lessons, but then the pandemic hit, and Carmen was going to give it to me for my birthday, the lessons. Now the pandemic. So now I've put them on hold till we get out of the pandemic, because I don't want to go through. But I've got a couple people here. Like one guy's Michael Schotten. He's good friends with Rick Emmett of Triumph and all of that. So he's exceptional drummer and singer here. So there's a lot of musicians here in Burlington, Ontario. It's a pretty cool place to be.
That's great. Well, you can do what I did. I flew down. You've heard of Rascal Flatts.
Yeah.
I contacted their drummer. Is phenomenal. His name's Jim Rowley. He's best friends with Rich Redmond that was on your show from Jason Aldean's band. Right. They're best friends. Matter of fact, Jim was 2 weeks away from being homeless before he was in Rascal Flatts. And Rich Redmond, no, it's not a secret. He's proud of it that he overcame that. Yeah. But Rich Redmond actually put him up in his apartment building before they were big names. Yeah. They were both on the verge of, no place to live. I know. Well, and look at them now. One's Rascal Flatts, one's Jason Aldean.
And Rich is amazing. I don't know if you follow Rich at all, but his podcast, I love his podcast. He talks with other drummers, and I'm not a drummer, but I feel like I'm there. Like I just kind of watch. I don't call myself a musician, but that's where my love of music came from. So I'm just on the digital side. That's why the radio station, all that is really cool, and it's so much fun talking. Like I just love talking with musicians. So there's Rich Redmond, and so you're telling us about.
Out there.
I could, but I still need. So my problem is that to learn to play, it's one thing to go to someone's studio and learn to play, but you have to practice. I live in an apartment building. I don't have a drum. There's no way I'm bringing they won't even let me go through the door if they see a drum kit coming in. So I would have to go. Do you have one of those the new electronic kind that don't make any noise? Do you have one of those drum kits? Do you play on one of those? I've had about 2 or 3 of those sets, and I would recommend that for you. I'm doing right now, all those other CDs. I did a bunch of pop CDs for Trio Avenue and things like that. He's got about a $9,000 or $10,000 set of Rolands in that studio, and I'm supposed to be in there. Like, we're in a lockdown right now in Alberta, but I don't know if you've heard of Stephen Bishop. I've heard the name. Yeah,
he did that song On and On. Down in Jamaica, they got lots of pretty women. Anyway, that's so the one guy that I do CDs, he owns the studio, and I got lucky because I have a friend that owns a studio, so I get to do some of his CDs, right? But I use the Roland kit there, and he writes songs, demos for Stephen Bishop, and I'm supposed to go in Friday. Hopefully the lockdown was down, and do some drumming. He just tells me what he wants, and then that gets shipped to wherever Stephen Bishop lives in the States. Okay. And that's only a demo just to hear how it sounds. Okay. But I would really recommend one of those, especially in an apartment building.
Yeah, but do they have the same feel? Like I tried one. Like we have a cool library not too far from me where they have an hole upstairs, and it's called the Creative Studio or something. And they have like a soundproof room that's got a drum. It's got one of those drum kits in it. You can go in there and podcast, and it's all free. You just kind of put your name in there and go do it. So I tried it, and it didn't have the same feel. But I know, like hooking up like your iPad to it. I know I've got GarageBand on my iPad, and I tried that out. You could pick your set and just tapping it with headphones. Boy, it sounds exactly like the kits, right? So I'm thinking you probably hook it into that so you get that feel of here's how it really sounds. But I'm just wondering how much noise it makes. It's just we just got a 2-bedroom apartment.
Did it have mesh heads or rubber heads?
They were rubber ones, and I didn't.
Okay, yeah,
wasn't crazy about the feel, but you know what? I only tried it once, and so it's been 40 years.
What you could do is just buy an entry level kit, right? And you can buy mesh heads by themselves.
And so what do the mesh heads do? They dampen the sound?
They have they're a little better feel than the rubber.
Okay.
I played in that British Invasion band, tribute band. I played in that one, the Fab Set. Yeah. And what they did was we took a nice kit and I recovered it to make it look like an old-fashioned kit. And then my brother was the genius in all this. And then we took what's called a brain, and it's where all the sounds come from for those Roland drum kits. And then we put mesh heads on it. And from the outside, it just looked like a normal drum kit. And then you put what's called a trigger on top of the mesh head. And they're $100 and some odd per. Yeah. And then we fed it into the brain. And then he got the sounds he wanted out of it because I didn't know how to run it that well.
Yeah. Well,
anyway, but from the outside, but you could do that. You could take a normal kit, put mesh heads on, and then put the triggers into a brain and then put headphones on and practice. Right. Now your cymbals would be different. We used real cymbals, but you could buy the pads.
Yeah. I'm going to have to see how it works. I don't know. I want to, to me, there's no sense taking lessons if I can't do some practicing in between the lessons or on my own afterwards. So I don't know. I don't see being able to go somewhere all the time and practice. I would need to have my own kit or something. So I haven't figured that part out. I will. I've been watching them and looking at them. I remember when I had drum
I would highly recommend you start out with a pad and learn the snare drum.
Right.
Rudiments first anyway, because then it gets your hands moving.
Yeah, well, that's what I used to do. Like I've done the Buddy Rich grip because when I was drumming as a teenager, I was reading all about Buddy Rich, and Neil Peart is one of my heroes. So I was always I already know how to play that. I know I played for about 2 years just jamming with friends. I'm sure I don't have any of the proper techniques and stuff, but I'm able to kind of get around. I know what things are. I just need to really take some lessons and get back into it again. But
we'll contact after, and I'll tell you what you need. Some things you can be the greatest rudimental drummer in the world, and I'm finding out. I did 2 other CDs last year, and I'm finding out that the simpler you can play, those are called money beats.
Yeah.
And what they do is, when I used to go to the gym, I would put on this iPod. And I thought, because I was taking away parts of my drum set, meaning I was making it smaller and smaller rather than bigger and bigger. Right. And what I would do is I'd have all these songs and I'd go, how many times does these drummers use these tom-toms? Like really, because you see these drummers with all these tom-toms everywhere and you think, dozen cymbals and you think, do you really need all that? And I'd listen to the songs and I'm thinking, it's a bass drum, hi-hat, and a snare drum, basically, is what you're going to hear.
I know.
And then I hear how simpler the beats are, and every now and then the flourish. I'd listen to everything from the Stones to even Britney Spears, because you have to keep up to, some of the drummers, the electronic drummers that she uses, or Madonna and all those people. They hire in the studio a real drummer, and that real drummer takes the beats and puts it onto a computer and on a program, and that's how that's done.
Oh, okay.
It's a lot of times it's not an actual playing drummer on a kit.
So I'm thinking of learning to play guitar. The only reason is that the last year I don't actually want to play guitar, but I bought I needed a speaker. I was doing an on-site event for my podcast, and I just needed a little speaker. And so I went to a garage sale. This guy was selling a speaker for $50. Perfect. The one I've got, and I've still got it. It's the kind you guys would use on stage, only a small one, it's kind of, I guess you guys call it a monitor speaker or something like that. So I bought this monitor speaker, and I gave the guy the $50. I took the speaker. He says, aren't you going to take the rest of it? And I said, the rest of what? He says, oh no, that $50 was for this, the guitar case, the cable. So I've got a Stratocaster guitar. And we put it in the living room because there's nothing wrong. I don't know. He said it was $150. He bought it for his kid. His kid never used it, so he's just getting rid of his stuff. This was like 2 years ago. We've had it in our living room. I went and bought a guitar stand. It just sits as an ornament because I love music. So it sits in the corner and my wife made me take it out of my office and put it in the living room because she likes it. And I'm thinking, I should learn to play that if it's going to sit in front of me all day. I could learn even some basic, because I was asking Mark Dawson the same thing. Mark goes, I don't know how to read music either. Well, okay. Well, if you can.
I don't like music. I don't. I took at the Conservatory of Music, and they tested me through the Toronto University. And I had 3 instructors from the Calgary Symphony, but then I found out it was all snare drum. And then I took those private lessons from Rascal Flatts drummer. So I fly out to Goodlettsville, and he says, "Can you read?" And I says, "Yeah, but I haven't read for 40 years, right?" Mm-hmm. So it was 7 hours a day, and I get out there, and it was phenomenal. And he sits me down on the drum kit, and he puts on, do you know what a click track is?
Yeah, yes, I do. I do through the DJ. See, this DJ thing is teaching me so much because they use click tracks to line up the next song. So I'm learning about click tracks right now. That's right.
Well, he puts that on at a high speed, and then I'm in this book, and there's all odd time signatures and everything. And I thought, maybe I'm in the wrong place.
There's 10 grand really down the road.
In my mind, I was kind of thinking, maybe if I just let him keep the money and I take off on a jet plane tomorrow morning and leave. I was supposed to be there for 3 days at his house. Yeah. But I thought, I can't face my daughter and my wife because they like Rascal Flatts. So what I learned to do, even because reading music is sort of like playing sports. You might learn how to do it, but you got to keep it up a bit.
Well, that's right.
And if you haven't done it for so long, it can be intimidating. So he'd do it a couple times first. And because I've spent so many years learning songs by just listening, I actually picked up what he was doing. And if Jim was ever listening to this right now, he'd be mad at me because I actually was looking at the notes, pretending I was reading it, but memorizing what he just did. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I got through it. I got through it. I think.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. He doesn't talk to you to this day? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't know. We'll see. But that's too funny. That's the thing. You got to know that, because I'm the same way. That's why I stopped drumming. Is I thought you had to learn to read music because everybody was talking about.
No.
And I'm going, I didn't want that. And I'm finding most of my musician friends don't know how to read music.
The greatest drummer on the planet was arguably Buddy Rich, and Buddy Rich couldn't read music.
Yeah, so I'm wondering,
he had to ask somebody to read it for him.
But how do you remember all these songs? Like, I mean, when you play a song, especially a cover song or something, you got to play it the way it's played. Like, I'm watching these kids on YouTube now. Tom Sawyer at the age of 6, I'm going, I couldn't do that now if I tried. Like, and they got to write beat for beat. Like, I mean, you got to have it the same. So how do you remember if you're doing 20, 30 songs in a set, right? And you've got to remember all of those. I don't know. I mean, I understand there's rehearsals and practice and all that, but you still need to remember. I can't even remember half the names of songs unless I'm reading.
Well, if you break down a song has what's called an intro, usually an intro, a verse, and then a chorus, and then maybe a bridge or whatever, and then a solo, and then another verse and an outro. So once you kind of get, break down a song, and I don't know what genre you ever want to go into. If you wanted to go into rock, it might be a little late. It might be to I went to one thing there where, have you ever heard of Matt Starr? He started really late in life, but he's a motivational speaker as well. And I had lunch with him at a camp, and Matt Starr plays for Ace Frehley.
Okay. Yeah, Ace Frehley Kiss,
Yeah, he's his drummer, and he plays for Mr. Big, and he had to step into some big shoes there. But he started very late in life. He was a singer, and he started late, and he sat down, and I remember talking to him, and he said, I don't know a lot of beats, but he said, the beats I know, I do really well. Yep. And I just remember that. That was a great statement. I could probably get him on your show as well there.
Well, you seem to know.
He's very nice.
You seem to know everybody. I interviewed a lady on the show, and I don't know if you heard this one. It was with Bonnie D. Graham, and she was a lady. She's a creative. Radio. She got her own radio shows. That's how she got out. We met through somebody else that was on the show and connected. And she's, I think, in her 70s and started playing drums 2 years ago. Had never played it before. Started playing drums. She started attending jam nights, and now she's got her own Latino band or something, and they play, and she's in charge of the band, and she's got drums. She plays drums every day. So she was inspiring. I go, okay, if she can do it. And I think at the time it was last year, I think she was 72 or something like that. So picked up drums in her 70s, right? Like that's inspirational to me.
No kidding.
Started painting. So when did you start making your own kits? What? You're the second drummer I know that makes their own drums. There's a guy named Paul who's part of the Killin' Time band here, and he makes his own drum kits and makes them for others. And I didn't realize that's what you do. When did you start doing that?
Well, I don't build the shell. Okay. I just take older kits. I've done it since the 70s, and I always like those car shows, where they take an ugly car and they redo them. Those guys are like masters. So I started taking these old kits, and each decade sort of has its own style, meaning 50s and 60s, the covering was like usually a pearl or a wrap. A pearl or a sparkle wrap. And then maybe the 70s, it turned into solids. The 80s were solids. And now it's going a little bit more wood grain look. So I found a place online where I could order the wrap, but now it's so expensive, not the wrap. It's a good price, but the Canadian exchange rate, and then they ding you at the border, and then the shipping. Yeah. By the time I get the wrap for one drum, I could buy a whole new kit. Oh yeah. So now I'm stripping them down, and I do the wood grain look. But I did about 20 kits or so with the wrap throughout a couple decades. And you can take them and you can make them look brand new. I go buy chrome polish and then I polish up all the lugs. But it was disheartening at the same time because these expensive drum companies, and this will probably be not something every drummer wants to hear, but the expensive drum companies, when you take the drum apart, I find out how cheap some of these companies are. Like underneath some of the wraps, they were so thin that they glue them because they want to save money. There'd be long hairs and bugs, and they would just put the glue on, and I don't know what country it would be in, and some of the times I take the lugs off, those silver things on the drum, those are called lugs, and they'd strip. So I'd have to run into Calgary to a place that sells screws, bolts, and pick up, because they strip, they break. Yeah. I thought, wow, this is an expensive drum company. It made so cheap. They'd be out of round. Yeah. I don't know if you know what a bearing edge is. It'd be out of round. Yeah. I wasn't impressed. So there are shells that you can buy. And then I just bought the wrap and drilled the holes and started from scratch. I have a cocktail kit. The cocktail kit. The white one. I like that picture you stand up, you play them. You stand up, and I'm loving that one. Yeah. I saw a DJ last year. I did a wedding, and I was the caricature artist, and he was DJ, but he was a drummer. And he had the DJ set up, and he had the drums. It was it's like he had two toms. It was just like two toms and a cymbal is all it was. It wasn't a full kit that he had up. And I think he was playing them with those, not regular drumsticks, but like the kind with the big fuzzy head on them, the kind they do for in big band when they're doing big bass drums. Yeah. The mallets. He had those, and he was playing to the songs. So it would get, and he was playing like Latino and stuff. Like it was really, and to watch the energy, like to watch him play while he's standing behind a table, and then, whenever that set part was over, he would go back to just playing, and he'd switch songs. So sometimes it was just song, but he had certain songs that he played along with, and it was just him. No other guitarist or anything, just him playing along to the song. But first of all, visually to watch him standing and hitting all of this, and then he was right on the money. Like this was not his first rodeo. He was just right on the money. It was like he was playing the song. It was just amazing. And I'm thinking that's the first time I've ever seen that here in Canada. In Barbados, where we go, the DJs are quite different. The ones that I've seen, right.
There's 2 or 3 of them that we follow along. One passed away this year, Andy. But they also sing with the songs, and one of them does steel pan, and they've all got kind of an instrument or 2 that they do with it. And so they make it more of a show than just a DJ playing behind a table and not talking with headphones or whatever. They're kind of like, the show is them, right? And one guy's called Mr. Impact. He's really good. So it's that kind of stuff that I go, yeah, that's smart. Like, they're in demand.
I love seeing, I love seeing when things have been changed. Yeah, because we all have to keep changing things a bit.
Yeah.
There's 2 bands I follow when I was on Facebook, and if any drummers are out there listening, or any musicians actually, one's called the Flyboys, Phlyboyz, and the other one's called the Troubadours, and they're both out of France. But those 2 bands, you could take a band on the radio, and these 2 bands probably have a more interesting life, and you've never heard of them, than what you hear on the radio. And I'm guessing they make as good as money. Anyway, they've traveled to about 34, 35 countries, and they do everything different. They both have stand-up drummers. They dress to the nines, and billionaires hire them for their yachts. They get sent to Russia for wealthy people. They get sent to Francis Ford Coppola would hire them for his dinner party. They do covers, but hip covers, but they do them their way. I just follow them, but they're not a well-known band to us.
Yeah, but they have their niche. They got money in their bank account, though. That's why.
Probably, but they have a niche market, and like I said, they'll be on a yacht one week, and then the next week they'll be in another country doing another event. But that's a niche market, Anna, and I'm really interested in that. Whereas it's not well known. Yep. We wouldn't know about that band.
Yeah, we've got a guy
just
here.
What we hear.
We got a guy here in Toronto. He goes by G Pinto, but it's Grenville Pinto. Really nice guy. He's a violinist, but he doesn't do, well, I guess he probably does do the slow violin, but he does Michael Jackson, he does Queen, does whatever with just him and the violin. And I met him at a wedding. Again, I was the caricature guy. He was the guy on stage, and I drew his caricature at the show. And since then, he's been on my podcast and stuff. Oh. Really smart guy here in Toronto, and he's at that level where he's he's like a god around Toronto here. I don't know how well known he's known outside of Ontario, but he plays all the big gigs, and he does a couple concerts a year in Toronto for Torontonians, and he's almost at that, the next step would be the big names, I guess. But he seems to do really well. Like, I mean, he's always busy, always booked, kind of like us, right? So we're just not always busy, always booked. I'm always busy and always booked when there's something going on. I'm sure he's going through the same. He's doing a lot of lives.
Oh, I'm sure he would be going. But nowadays musicians, I did 2 CDs recently, and they hired you said this guy's a violin player?
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, the last CD I did, and I'm still working on it right now. They just have to mix it down. They used a violin player that used to tour with Mel Tillis, Pam Tillis. Okay. He works with Marty Stewart. But the point being, I've never met the guy, but he's on the CD with me, and they have studios now in their home, all these musicians. Yeah. And the producers, if they know them, they're going to produce a good quality product. Yeah. They just simply send the WAV file to them, or whatever file of what we've done in his studio, and they simply put their parts on, and then they send it back. So nowadays, your friend there could probably do work like that just right out of his house.
I'm sure he does.
It's not as big a money, obviously, but he can still do it. Yeah. And like I said, I've never met this guy that's on this last CD I did, but when I hear him, I'm wow, this is. And then I looked up his name's Bruce Hoffman. Yeah. You can look him up, and you can see, he used to be a steady guy at Branson, Missouri. He's played with all the big guys down there. Yeah. But yet he just did it out of his house.
Yeah, well, it's like Mark's working out of his house too. It's pretty cool to see.
Right. Well, yeah, Mark's got a studio out of his house as well. Yeah.
I think.
Well, he did that. He did that YouTube video. You know that video I was playing with Mark on?
Yeah. Is that the one?
And the funny thing, I don't know if you've seen it. Where
there's one. Is it on his website? There's a couple I saw. I don't know if I saw.
No, it's not on his website. I can send it to you. You know, you have to be careful of the words you say in life. Some of the metaphysical teachers always say when you say something out loud, it comes back to you.
Yeah.
Well, that Buddy Rich guy that I mentioned, he plays for. Well, when I talked to him, we found out we both knew Mark Dawson.
Okay.
We found out we both knew him. So I just casually said to him, because Mark does songs outside of the grassroots on his own, and I just casually said to him, "I'd like to play on a song of Mark Dawson's, and I want to use my brushes, brushes instead of drumsticks." Well, then fast forward 2 years. That guy that owns the studio, he knew that all musicians got knocked out of work because of the coronavirus. So he wrote a song about it, and he wanted people from all over North America to be on this. So he hired a couple guitar players out of California and Arizona, and he was looking for a bass player. And so he got Mark, and he sent the WAV file, and he got me to play drums on it. So
there you go.
Yeah, but not wanting to go downstairs because there was lockdown, there was rules. Yeah. He puts me out in the garage. So there's neighbors around, right? So what do I do to make it quieter, even though it was all mic'd? I use brushes. And nothing was planned. And then all of a sudden, after saying that to Greg, I'd like to play one song with Mark Dawson using brushes. Fast forward 2 years. I'm playing with Mark Dawson using brushes.
There you go.
Isn't that weird? And yeah, isn't that weird?
That's amazing. So what are you doing now? Are you still with Trio Avenue?
No, I'm working on those CDs, and I'm doing that demo thing for that Stephen Bishop.
Okay.
And there's a YouTube channel. That studio is, before this lockdown came, he wanted to do a YouTube music channel. And again, if musicians are listening right now, you can go on to Google in Boyce Avenue or Postmodern Jukebox. Now, here's another business plan that musicians have done, that they're not your average guy playing in a bar or club or whatever. They did a YouTube channel. Now, supposedly Boyce Avenue, you can see it on the internet, it made $12 million. But I don't know them. You don't know them, right? Yeah. A lot of people have known Postmodern Jukebox. So anyway, the studio I'm working with right now, he brought in a carpenter and he designed the wall. It's beautiful to start with, and they've got that huge Roland kit there. And then he bought a new Bose sound system, and he was ready to do YouTube videos. He lined up some other musicians, and he lined up a videographer to start doing that. And then all this lockdown came. But Google those two bands, Postmodern Jukebox. Each video might have 1 to 3 million views right off the bat, right off the bat. And so that's how they're making their money, is YouTube videos.
Hey, if that's how you can make it, there's a lot of ways to make it. I make it through podcasts. I do YouTube more for SEO. I don't worry about how many people I've got following or whatever. I just put videos up there for the SEO part of it.
Right.
But I make my money off podcasts and now the radio station, and there is a way to do it, and you sometimes have to think a little differently than everybody else, right? And,
exactly. That's the point I'm trying to get across, is just think a little bit differently.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing, all the stuff that I
never liked playing out very much anyway. It's like, as a Canadian, if you're loading equipment, if you have to play till 1 o'clock or whatever, you're loading equipment in a snowstorm at 2 o'clock and you sleep the whole Sunday. I never wanted to do that, and I didn't do it very much.
Well, I
got tired of it.
That's the thing. I've been thinking about becoming a DJ for weddings, but I'm not sure I want to, because the DJ's there first. He leaves last.
Right.
And, when you and I both do that kind of event, I like that I could walk in and walk out in the middle of the wedding. Like my time is done. I pack up my stuff. I could carry it in 2 hands and I am gone. Like, I don't have to wait around till midnight, 1 in the morning if I'm, not already there. Cause a lot of times I'm done at 11. Once they start dancing, they don't want characters done anymore. And so I kind of, can just leave if that's my time is done. Whereas anything else, you got to wait around. So I don't know. I'm playing with it. If I do weddings, I think I'm only going to specialize in Caribbean weddings. I don't want to do everybody else's wedding. Yeah. But Caribbean, soca, all that stuff that we listen to in Barbados, that I could get into. Like that's part of the time.
You could always hire somebody to do it, and you could be the the grand poobah that lines it all up.
I've been a manager before. I've had employees. I'm really trying to stay away from employees as much as I can because it's not as much fun as they say. Everybody's going, yeah, Bruce, you can expand, hire. No, been there. I kind of just take the work I like to do, and the other work I go, there's a guy across the street. He can do it for you. So,
we really got spoiled being caricature artists because I don't know if anybody's listening that is a character artist, but we made phenomenal money and our hours were so good. And I knew a lot of times when I do events, I'm making more than the band, and I don't have to go as long as a band. And I walk in, I'm set up in 5 minutes, and I'm torn down in 5 minutes. And I'm more of a rock star than the band is. You know that, and and I'm not saying that to be a jerk or anything, but it's a talent that not everybody knows about it, and it's so personal because you're drawing that person. It's a gift to them.
For sure.
Whereas when the band's playing, it's not really a gift to them. It's something that they listen to, dance to, or watch. But the character artist, it's very up close and personal. And it's really spoiled. It spoiled it for being in a band.
Yeah. How do you manage the two? Do you pick and choose? Like, do you say, okay?
Oh, that was the hardest.
That's hard, right? Because everybody's playing Saturday nights, and Saturday nights are big money for me. Saturday's a $1,000 day. We're not doing anything on Saturdays if the weddings are going on because that's where I can make money, right? So,
I was playing with this one tribute band, and I got I used to work on the cruise ships drawing characters, and I got offered. This is nowhere to lie. There was this, what is it called? Not Holiday and Best Western. Yeah. And they wanted to open up this dinner thing in the back. So they hired this tribute band that I was playing with. And they were low pay, and only like 30 people would show up. So the very night they wanted to do it, I got offered for Royal Caribbean to go to St. Petersburg, Russia, when they used to have the cruises. Okay, so I asked the leader, and he says, no, we need you for this. So I turned it down thinking, well, there'd be plenty more cruises, Nowhere to lie. The next one comes up, and it lands again on the same night I was going to play. They asked me for Australia, and I've never been there. Again, the leader, no, we can't do it. And I'm thinking, and then the last one was either Barbados, Bermuda, or Bahamas. It started with a B. Yeah. And he said no, and I literally quit. I quit the band after that. I literally quit because I thought, and then Royal Caribbean didn't hire him anymore.
Yeah.
Incidentally, I did get on with another cruise line last year, by the way.
Oh, did you?
I did get on. Yeah, and I was supposed to be in Panama in September, and I probably would be in Singapore right now if this craziness hadn't gone on. And it was a connection through a connection through a connection. And it wasn't as easy to get on as it used to be.
Right.
It's probably easier to get a Nexus card than it is to get as a character artist on a cruise ship now. And I'm really serious. And I did get on, but they actually send the HR department to a law firm, and the law firm goes through you.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a 2-month looking at you. And your work goes through a high-end character artist before, and he scrutinizes it. He asks you, I want to see a young girl, a young boy, an old man, an old woman, a family, a couple, this nationality, that nationality. He goes through it all, and so I got through that.
Wow.
It took like 3 or 4 months to get on, and then as soon as I got on, I was all happy. And I got my new wardrobe because they demanded I bought everything and all the materials and everything. And then it was an email saying it's all off, and probably 2021's gone as well. So, wow. Yeah.
You're all set up for 2022, though, I guess, if you want to go. Right?
Oh, boy. Yeah. I'm getting older, but.
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't want to keep you too long, but I do want to talk about this song, Jolene, that you sent for me. Tell me about this song. Tell me what's going on with this group. This is one of the ones you're working on right now, the CD?
Well, they already finished their CD, but again, I'm like you. I like business, and I know you like business. You place that high priority, and so that band they're called Generation Country, and they toured China a couple of years ago, and when they got back, they asked me. They said, "Can you come in and do some jobs with us?" So I said, "Sure," because I love classic country. I never thought I'd say that 20 years ago, but I really, really like it. And I like bands that are true to what they when they say they like classic country, they do it right. Like, I like bands that are true to whatever they do. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so I did it, and then they recorded, and pardon me, they didn't record yet. I noticed they had a huge fan base, and they would do it on Facebook. They would always do just as a couple, and they'd get people from Australia and all over the States requesting songs and blah, blah, blah. And I said to Cindy, why don't you have a CD? Like, you got this monster fan base. They love you guys. And so we put together a CD, and she sold out in 5 days, and they'll be doing another one when the lockdown's over, because there you go. A lot of bands were knocked out because of the virus, but they weren't. Yep. They weren't. They were able to really promote that with their Facebook pages and so forth, and it was all sold out. So they're going to get another run of CDs, and then do another CD.
So where can we find our music? Guitar? Where can we find it? Can I find it on like Apple Music or something like that, or?
You know, I don't know enough about it, only because I'm working on another band.
I'll look it up. I'll look it up because I'd like to feature that. Like, that's on the station. That's what we play. We play rock. I like the hard rock from the 70s, but I also play. Because I'm trucking. I love country. Like, so I play everything from George Jones to Garth Brooks and in between, right? And new artists. And so we have a lot of different shows. So I'd like to feature that for sure. So that's pretty cool that you're that
guitar player on there. Remember I said you can get a guitar player that can stay in his house and he can do it. Well, that guy there, they hired, he plays with all your newer Canadian country acts. He toured all over the world with them. His name's Ronnie Kerr. Okay. He used to play even with Charlie Pride. He worked with him, but he's played with everybody. So when you bring in a good guitar player, and if you've got good vocals and so forth, the rest you can get through.
Wow. You know what? We could go on for hours, but we're not going to, because I'm picturing you holding your phone and it's probably like my arm's about to drop off. I've got a mic. Okay.
I was just waiting for my dogs to start fighting, because usually when you're on the phone, I've got 2 Chihuahuas and they hate each other. They're males. Okay. And they start in a vicious fight, and usually they do it when somebody's on the phone. And they haven't done it yet.
Well, they're captivated by your stories. That's why.
Yeah, right.
Kelly, thanks so much for being on, man. Where do we learn more about you? You don't promote your music at all, because when you go to your website, it's only about your art, right? So.
I know. I know. I just do the connections. I prefer just working one-on-one with people that know me, and I'm not a, hey, here I am. I don't care.
I know. And I wish, you know what? I miss us hanging out at conventions. You and I, usually do quite a few beers and a couple dinners, or the other way around, whatever it is.
Yeah, we'll see if that works again in a couple of years, eh?
Yeah, we'll see what goes on there, Evan. I've missed the last couple. I missed this virtual one they did last year. I don't know if they even did a virtual one. I didn't go to that. Yeah, I guess they did a virtual one.
And my heart goes out to all those caricature artists that have lost their businesses, because I know their hearts were so into what they do. Yeah. And my heart goes out to all of them. If any of them are listening, it really does, because it really hurts to see the passion that they all had, and to just get it knocked out like that. It's just,
to me, that's part of the whole. If you're going to do that, you've got to kind of, like, if you look at the smart caricature artists that you and I know, there's some guys who are still busy, still working. They've adapted to online. I'm not crazy about the online thing, but they've adapted to the online, or they've kind of set themselves up for different services, whatever it is. Nolan out in the West Coast comes to mind, and, Nikki Nix in Indiana. There's some really smart ones that have built a solid business and are still moving along pretty good. And it's good to see. It's really good to see. I wish everybody well too. I hope they all come back. And I know once this lockdown stops, we're going to be busy. Like, get ready for 2022, because we're going to be.
That's what we said last year.
I know. But you know what? I think we were all thinking this was only going to last a couple months, but it's now going into 2021. But once we get all vaccinated and all that kind of stuff, I don't even know how we're going to handle it, because I think in 2020, everybody's moving their dates. Plus, you've got all the people who are starting new dates and have been just waiting. And there's not going to be enough artists to probably accommodate all the weddings and stuff. And events, people are going to be starved for an event.
Yeah, you could be right on that.
So I think once it comes back, everybody better get ready. This is why don't you want to just kind of stay alive right now and keep safe and keep going, and improve. Because when it comes
when H1N1 or whatever it's called came out, I was working in Puerto Rico on the cruise ship. So they've taken this one a little more serious, I guess.
It's pretty serious. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. I wish everybody well, and thanks for your time today, buddy. Appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you, Bruce.
Talking with you for sure.
Okay, Bruce. Cheers and congratulations on your book. It's terrific.
Thank you. Hey folks, are you ready to get started as an artist? Are you looking for a book to help you? Hey, whether you want to start your business out of the gate on a part-time basis or you want to go full-time and jump right in, this book will help you. This is a book called How to Start an Artistic Business in 12 Easy Steps. And you know what? It's free. That's the cool thing about it, that you can get it free at cashinginoncreativitypodcast.com. All you have to do is go there, sign up, and you'll get a PDF download that is set up like a workbook so that you can work one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, or you can do it all at the same time. Whatever works for you. This book will work for artists, authors, anybody that's a creative that is looking to use their talent to start a business or career. This is the perfect book for you. It tells you all the things you need. And I wrote it many years ago, but it still works today. So where can you get it? Go to cashinginoncreativitypodcast.com. Enjoy. All right, so I invite you to check out Kelly's information. Check out his YouTube channel. I'll put that down in the show notes as well. You can find him at kelly-gannon.blogspot.com is where it is. It's mostly his art there. He doesn't actually promote his music a lot, but he's really involved with it and a super talented guy, and I'm happy to call him a friend. He's been really great. So, hey, if you want to hear his music, go to leadpedalradio.com and you can listen to his music and all of that kind of stuff and get on board with that. All right, so, hey, make sure you join us on social media. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can find me on LinkedIn. Make sure you search out Kelly and follow him, and check out some of the other people that he's connected me with. All great musicians like Rich Redmond, Nathan Liu, Mark Dawson, and of course himself, Kelly Gannon. All right, we'll talk to you later. Thanks again for listening. Bye for now.
Need to know more about your host or the show? Check out your host at bruceoutridge.com and learn more about the show at cashinginoncreativitypodcast.com.